$16,000. That's how much I spent on a 2004 4Runner, and now it's having issues. I still owe $13,000 on it, and I'm having a hard time selling it. To make things worse, the wheel is hard to turn. Is there any advice to get out of this debt?
I'm willing to give the car back, but my credit will take a hit, and the bank will sell it at auction, and I'll be responsible for the difference, if any. What advice can we give to the OP of this post so they can get out of this situation? Now, OP didn't mention their age, only that they're from Denver, and I assume that they're a pretty young guy because it was a terrible deal. As one commenter puts it, he made a $16K loan for a 20-year-old car. And another commenter puts it as, why would you spend $16K for a car that was only worth $25K brand new 20 years ago? So the seller got a really good deal, but here's the thing, the karma will probably come back and bite them because they probably knew what the true value of that car was and they still sold it. They did the dishonorable thing, which is take advantage of someone. But here's the lesson. Everyone gets scammed. Listen, you can get scammed financially, spiritually, mentally, and relationally. The most important thing is to not beat yourself up over it.
2013, it was my first time I got on a plane and moved across Canada to work at BlackBerry for my internship.
It was the first time I lived alone, and moving out alone presents new challenges like cooking, doing groceries, or doing laundry without mom. So one day before I left for work, at the door I just stood there and I looked back at my MacBook Pro for a good minute or two. I just looked there deciding whether I should bring my MacBook Pro to work or not. You know, normally I would bring my MacBook Pro to work, but on this day I just left it at home. And when I came back from work, I found that my whole entire place was surrounded by cops. I was like, what the heck is going on? Did someone get murdered? Well, the good thing is nobody got murdered, but we did have a robber break into our house and he basically took everything. So not long after, I found another MacBook on Craigslist and decided to travel down to Toronto to buy it. It was like $500 because back then I was doing my internship at BlackBerry. And that's where the story starts. You know, there's this designer jacket scam in Toronto, and I think it's still going on today. And to be transparent, this is how naive I was. So this is what happens. There's this guy in a van that drives around, and what he does is he stops strangers on the street and he tries to engage them in conversation. And if you engage, he'll tell you that he's coming from a trade show and that he's trying to catch his flight. The problem is that he has all these designer jackets with him that he cannot bring on to the flight. And if he can return them, then you'll get back the full cost of those jackets. So let's say that those jackets are worth $2,000. They're Versace, Ralph Lauren, and that if you go back to Versace and Ralph Lauren and return those jackets, you're gonna get back the full price, the $2,000. And he'll just give them to you now for like $500, so you'll make a profit. And you'll start to question, why don't you return it yourself and get the $2,000 yourself? Well, he's gonna say, well, I'm gonna miss my flight and I can't bring these jackets on your flight. And at that point, I've only really taken one flight in my life, so I didn't know how TSA or all that kind of stuff works. But you can take on however amount of clothes you want on a flight and you will not get it taken away from you. At any rate, at that time, 21-year-old naive me thought that I could have made a profit, and I actually fell for the scam, giving away $500 for designer jackets. So I agree with most of the commenters on the thread. The OP should actually fix it and then try to sell it. They live in Colorado anyways, and 4Runners aren't really that hard to sell. The thing is, it's just an over 20-year-old car, so CarMax wouldn't want to touch it. You know, where OP is, I've been there before. I know how he feels, although the difference between $500 and $16,000 is a really huge difference. But what really hurts isn't the money, it's the pride, it's the ego hit that you take for falling into a debt trap or a scam, for being disappointed in yourself, for actually falling into such an obvious debt trap or a scam. Now I'm here to say that if you're in a similar situation, just know that you are not the first and you're certainly not going to be the last to fall into a debt trap or a scam. Guys, just know that there's going to be another. And that's not even the worst debt trap. I mean, $16,000 is nothing. You'll make it back. I mean, just think about all the numerous divorces that happens across America. The scam of happily ever after, people shelling out $40,000 and more for marriages only to go and spend tens to hundreds of $1,000s later in divorces. That is a bigger scam, and not to mention all the time you invested in the wrong person. But the financial lesson of today is whatever the emotional debt trap is, it is usually good for us because it hurts us so much that we actually pay attention to them and learn from them.